about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I guess today we say Happy Tax Day. Is it a happy day? For some, yeah, because they're going to be getting bigger refunds. For others, like, oh gosh, it's taxes again. Of course, there's many of you out there that are late. You're actually scrambling that today was tax day. We had our accountant file an extension. Yeah, our issue is we know tax day comes April 15th. I mean, we knew it was coming. It's just by the time we have everybody send the 1099s and all that, by the time we get everything we need, which we should have gotten by the end of January, and compile everything together, it's, end of March for us. So, you can file an extension if you aren't able to get everything done today on April 15th. Some interesting facts. We didn't always have tax day or income tax day. Income tax only officially started in 1913. Why? Well, because a lot of the money we got prior to that was external. Like what Trump has been trying to do with the External Revenue Service, tariffs, those kinds of things. And so we didn't have to do an income tax until 1913. And that's when they tried to do a progressive, those who make more money pay more, et cetera. And it's kind of fascinating because it was, I believe, the 16th Amendment that had to be ratified for us to be able to start taxing individuals to pay taxes. I think the 16th Amendment was ratified in February of 1913. I believe tax day was initially in March, and then it got moved to March 15th, and then it got moved again to April 15th. So it's been, there's some interesting history with it. We won't go into all of it, but there were Supreme Court cases and the concept of what's fair in terms of people paying taxes. This has always been an issue. Right now we're dealing with in this country anywhere from 40 to 50% of the population not having to pay income tax, which means tax day is only celebrated by about half of the country. So yay us. And so, we think, gosh, why such a disparity? We have nearly half our country not paying taxes today, income taxes, and the rest of us have to cover. What's going on here? Well, that apparently the tax drama has always been there. How does the government get the money they need? And in fact, a lot of people didn't like the idea of federal tax. The reason why it took so long for that to happen is people didn't trust the government. They thought that if we were going to give money to the government, where's the transparency? How do we know that money is actually going for our roads or picking up the horse poop like had to be done back in the 1800s? Or, where was that money going? But then on the other end, they were concerned that tariffs were hurting the poor, where if there's a price point or an extra price on a food or a good or a supply, how are richer people paying more than poorer people? Everybody's paying the same for that, so poor people are hurt more. So the idea of tariffs and external revenue is nothing new. This is something that America lived on until they had to then start doing income tax. But now we're in a position where people are crying foul because, one, where is all our money going? And then two, how is half the country supporting the other half? People always talk to me about, well, we should do socialized medicine and we should do what Norway does and we should do what the UK does and Canada does. Yeah, but if you look at the percentages of those people who pay taxes, the majority of the country pay. I mean, if everybody paid income taxes in America, except those who are, homeless and disabled, et cetera, or, unemployed, by choices not their own, you would have a lot of money to then cover health care and all that, but we don't. You can't be asking for socialized medicine. You can't be asking for these things when the burden of the income taxes is not shared by everybody. It's only a percentage of Americans, and that's why we're kind of struggling. Now, one thing that people are very excited about is how their refunds are supposed to go up. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act apparently has increased people's deductions based on the no tax on tips, the no tax on Social Security. There's a senior credit. There's changes in the child care credit. And so these are things that people are hoping to translate into, according to tax date, the average refund is $3,462, up from around $350 from last year, or about 11%. So people might be getting a few $100s extra. Some people might be getting more. And I know that is something that a lot of people are excited about. Families with children are supposed to see bigger tax breaks, according to H&R Block. Changes in the big bill resulted in updates for the child tax credit increased to $2,200. Adoption credit is now $5,000. And let me see here. If you're 65 and older, eligible taxpayers of this group can now take an extra deduction of $6,000. Now, it's not a Social Security deduction. Any income, including taxable Social Security, could be lowered with this new deduction. So the idea of no taxes on Social Security, from what I understand, that was still a little trickier to do because of it being income. But then what they're doing is they're offsetting it by giving the seniors a $6,000 deduction. So that can actually help. SALT cap now up to $40,000 from $10,000. So that gives more advantages to people as well. If you earn tips, up to $25,000 of your tip income can now be non-taxed. So the no tax on tips was pretty popular in terms of overtime. Eligible workers can claim a deduction for qualified overtime pay up to $12,500 for unmarried taxpayers, $25,000 for married filing joint taxpayers. If you're accountant or if you do your own taxes, you need to be aware of all of these and complete them. For those of you going, Dahlia, it's April 15th. I'm screwed. You can file electronically. Just take some time. Do it today. Make sure all your numbers are in order. Make sure any of your dependents are listed. We talked about medical tax deductions previously. We could revisit those whenever you guys want. Make sure your mailing address and your return address for your refund is there, bank information, etc. But don't panic. Hopefully for many, it's a good day. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot's Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot's Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer. And big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So you know that commercial from Capital One, what's in your wallet? Well, I think we need to ask what's in your lab, or who's working in your lab, or who is on your college campus. Because it looks like we had arrested, and now this student has pled guilty. He's a student from China on a J-1 visa who was caught smuggling bioweapons and dangerous biological pathogens into the United States. And this is why, we need a good vetting process. I mean, who's vetting these individuals? So let me tell you what happened here, and I'm glad they found him. This happened in Indianapolis. Yao Zhang, 32 years old, formerly a postdoctoral researcher at Indiana University, so very highly educated, a citizen of the People's Republic of China, has been now sentenced to 4 months in prison, given a $500 fine, and 1 year of supervised release after pleading guilty to smuggling biological materials into the U.S. from China. As part of his plea agreement with the government, he also stipulated to the entry of the judicial order of removal, which will result in his immediate removal from the United States back to the People's Republic of China. So the guy's getting deported. You can't be doing that here. You can't be smuggling E. coli, which is very dangerous. We've talked about E. coli and the sugar toxin. Can't be doing that. He holds a PhD from the Chinese Academy of Sciences, applied for and received a U.S. non-immigrant student J-1 visa to perform postdoctoral research in the Department of Biology at Indiana University, Bloomington. He's been here since 2023. According to court documents, and these are from November 2025, the FBI's Indianapolis division started to investigate suspicious shipments from China to individuals affiliated with Indiana University. Now, again, not sure why this wasn't done back in 2023. But by 2025, somebody started to look at it. New administration, obviously. During the investigations, FBI agents found that Zhang had received a suspicious shipment from China at his Bloomington, Indiana residence in March of 2024. The package in question originated from Guangzhou Sci-Tech Innovation Trading, and the shipping manifest declared that the package contained, quote, underwear of man-made fibers, other women's. So basically, they tried to disguise the package as women's underwear. Now, I get that some people have fetishes, but why is he ordering so much women's underwear? I understand people sell women's underwear and they like to wear it and all that, but the FBI found that suspect. Investigators thought it was unusual that he was purchasing and shipping women's underwear from China, especially when the company from forth this said underwear was coming was a science and tech company. On November 23rd, 2025, Zhang was interviewed by Customs and Border Protection at O'Hare International Airport as he returned to the U.S. from a research trip in the U.K. During that interview, he denied any knowledge of it. But then eventually admitted that the shipping manifest of the package that he got in March 2024 was intentionally mislabeled, and samples of DNA with E. coli bacteria were concealed in that package so he could circumvent U.S. law. As a result, his J-1 visa was terminated and he got arrested. During the sentencing that happened last week, the U.S. District Court also heard that the FBI's investigation uncovered evidence that he was a member of the Chinese Communist Party and that he lied about his affiliation with the CCP when he was questioned by immigration authorities. Now, if you did this in Canada, they deport you right away, too. I mean, you cannot lie. You cannot mislead. You get deported. You do this in Japan, Germany. You lie or mislead about anything when you are trying to, be in that country, you get deported. So no shock here. But they said, according to authorities, they said he intentionally exploited his access to lab facilities at one of Indiana's flagship research universities and the privileges of his J-1 visa status to illegally smuggle biological materials into the United States. Conduct like him circumvents diligent inspection of potentially harmful substances by Customs Border Patrol, USDA, and those agencies required by law to prevent the introduction of invasive and harmful biological materials into our country. This poses a very serious threat to public safety and to the health of our agricultural economy. That's according to Tom Wheeler, U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Indiana. They say, let me be clear, the customs laws and regulations of the United States exist to protect our borders, our economy, and the citizenry of this country. They may not be ignored at the whim and folly of scientific researchers and academic institutions. Our office remains fully committed to working with our exceptional law enforcement partners to protect Hoosiers and defend the U.S. against such grave national security threats. To see the Chinese Communist Party exploit us like this, not cool. So the E. coli in question, we believe, is the Shiga E. coli. The E. coli, the Shiga toxin producing E. coli strains like O157. And these produce very serious toxins. They can be harmful to the GI, vascular lining, renal tract, cause a multitude of symptoms. Not runny nose. Runny nose, that's the pollen, which I think is also pretty toxic. So if people do get exposed to E. coli, they can be pretty sick. Some people will resolve fine. Others will get shortness of breath, hemolytic uremic syndrome, where you get fever, abdominal pain, vomiting, bloody stools, headache, decreased urination, pallor, bruising. We took care of patients who got hemolytic HUS or hemolytic uremic syndrome from E. coli poisoning. It's bad. They could get anemia, nosebleeds, dehydration, seizures, renal failure, and die. E. coli, especially the Shiga poisoning, the Shiga toxin, very serious stuff. So what are we doing here? This is not the first time we heard that students were, either smuggling things or they were reporting back or spying. I mean, come on. Where was the vetting? Who's overseeing this? And I don't want to see the drama that we've been seeing as it pertains to the border and ICE and all that. I mean, again, if we didn't have the open borders and the complete mess that we had previously, we wouldn't be in this mess right now. I don't want drama. I want things calm. I don't want people saying we have to kill ICE, and I don't want, people fearful that ICE is going to hurt them. I don't want to see any of that. But the problem is in the previous years, we allowed wolves in sheep's clothing. And now the onus is on us to find them and get them out if they're criminals. And when I worked in labs and you had to do research as a college student, and a lot of these lab people, they stay to themselves. They don't talk much. They don't, you can't really expect there to be vetting among coworkers because they work in their own corner. They have their own lab space. You don't go into their lab space. You let them do their thing. You stay on your side, especially since I tripped and I fell and I ruined a whole bunch of somebody's samples that were all organized. And boy, he was mad. Oh gosh, I fell. It was one of the professors. Oh, he was so mad at me because I fell into the freezer and it knocked all these vials all over the place. It was so bad. But so anyway, I know to stay in my lane. I'm not going to go and start questioning somebody who's working in a corner of a lab or whatever. I'm also not going to question somebody who gets a box of women's underwear. All right, we're not supposed to judge if people have certain fetishes and whatever, or want to, enjoy women's underwear. But apparently we're going to have to figure things out, or we're going to have to start getting into people's faces and understand what's going on, because these countries are exploiting and taking advantage of our vulnerabilities. And you don't necessarily have, ICE, or you don't necessarily have a lot of FBI and agents combing through universities and labs to figure out who's doing what. And so if somebody is working on something, needing lab space, and then sending that information back to China, or if they're smuggling stuff in from China, it's going to be harder to find. And something like this just put academic institutions on the radar. I find this very troubling because I'm a part of the science community, and I think we're cool folks, right? I know you all think we're dorks and geeks, but we science folks, we're in science to improve the world. You'll find cures, discover more, learn about life, and we're just, unfortunately, infiltrated with individuals and countries who want to do harm. And so our border and our vetting of students, these J-1 visas, have got to be top. I told you, every time I go out of the country, I mean, they grill me and they tell me, look, you're only here for X amount of days and then you leave. And I go, I know, I'm going to leave. I mean, they're, and I'm not saying all the other countries have a much more airtight system, but we have to figure out what we did wrong. And now who could possibly, be, doing things that are going to harm Americans. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
And we're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877 Doc Dolly, 1-877-DOC-DALI. We have an amazing hero. Have you heard about the school principal that stopped the school shooting? This guy, absolute hero, Kirk Moore, principal of Pauls Valley High School, sustained a shot in the leg as he wrestled an attacker who tried to attack his Oklahoma school. This is such amazing work. Kirk Moore is the principal of Pauls Valley High School, was shot in the leg. The attacker was a 20-year-old former student. This former student, according to court documents, was obsessed with the 1999 shooting at Colorado's Columbine High School. If you remember, back in 1999, 12 students and 1 teacher were killed. Authorities in Garvin County, about 60 miles south of Oklahoma City, said the principal, Kirk Moore's action of racing from his office into the school lobby, throwing himself on top of the suspect, undoubtedly prevented a tragedy. If you watch the video footage, it's amazing. According to Don May, chief of the Pauls Valley Police Department, he said, it doesn't surprise me the actions that he took, but it is amazing the actions that he took. There's no doubt in my mind he saved kids' lives. So the alleged attacker is Victor Lee Hawkins. He fired several shots before he was disarmed by the principal and another staff member who arrived to help. Nobody was hurt other than the principal. He did go to the hospital to get treatment for a wound to his lower right leg. Now, the attacker, Victor Lee Hawkins, is at the Garvin County Detention Center, has $1 million bail. I'm surprised that there's bail because he could go out and shoot again. I'm really surprised, but he is awaiting a court appearance that's going to be in 3 weeks from now. He faces charges of shooting with intent to kill, feloniously pointing a firearm, and carrying a weapon to public assembly. Now, this occurred before 2:20 p.m. on April 7th. According to an affidavit signed by Special Agent Merrick Musette, about 20 minutes earlier, Hawkins, who graduated the high school last year, and he's 20, so he graduated, he either was a 19-year-old grad or he apparently took 2 of his father's weapons from a closet at home, drove to the campus with the intent of killing students, faculty, and then he was going to kill himself. He entered the school, pointed his pistol, and yelled for everyone to get on the ground. Now, interestingly, he pointed a gun at a female student that was standing there in the lobby. Thank God the weapon malfunctioned. he pulled the trigger, she could have been dead. He then stepped out from behind the vending machine and pointed his gun at a male student in the foyer. By then, the principal was able to make his way to the lobby and jump and charge him. Mussett said Hawkins told him he wanted to conduct his own school shooting like the Columbine shooters did, referring to the 1999 Colorado tragedy where 2 teenage assailants took their own lives after murdering students and staff. Now, why did he do it? Well, we still don't have all the details to his motive, but he did not like the principal, and he wanted to kill the principal. A statement on its website under the heading Safe School details their preparations for such an incident. And the principal said, he's grateful to the training he got, to God, and his ability to stop him. They said throughout the past decade, the high school has also developed a practice safety measure to be taken should there be an intruder or dangerous individual on campus. It is our foremost concern that our students feel and are safe at school. So when you look at this and you see that this student was idolizing Columbine murderers, this is I can't describe how much mental illness there is in this world. I can only tell you I saw a lot of it as a physician and in my training. But if you go about life thinking nobody is going to want to do something bad, it's just a rare, a rare one-off. It's not. There are people who are fantasizing and delusional, and they want to go down in history. This is why there's this big movement to not bring up the names, not give these people any more attention, because they will read about these other individuals and do copycat. The problem is you can't erase history. I mean, schools need to be aware. Now, I'm surprised it took us this long, about over a week, to find out that this happened. But schools need to be aware. It's I think it's very, very important to let them know that former students, such as this one, may come back idolizing other murderers, wanting to be a mass shooter, just like somebody they read up. But I think everybody does need to be aware. And yes, it is going to be in the news. And in terms of revealing the name, people say, well, don't name and don't share the name of the person so he gets any credit. The thing is for those people who know him, this is alert. You see, we need to educate ourselves. And for the community who knows this person, who says, well, this person was doing this person gave us this signs, we have to be our own AI. And we have to learn from the data that we have. But if we're not giving out data, we're not going to learn. And trying to profile the next mass shooter is difficult, because we don't want to profile people. We don't want to inappropriately stereotype somebody. We don't want to misdiagnose. We don't want to, jump the gun. On the other end, if you know this person and you see somebody acting similarly to them, that's all you can go on. And if you feel that there are threats or that person is doing some abnormal activity, you should contact the authorities and let them, do their investigative work. But, the old days of, kids going, well, I want to be a policeman, or I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a pilot. That's not what these people are doing. These people are fantasizing about being in video games. These people are fantasizing about being notorious for being a mass shooter. This is what's driving, not everybody, but a lot of people. And they're very hard to find, especially if they're in their own little. I mean, you used to see them going to the library. You would have to go to the library. You would have to look something up, ask to look something up. There could be cameras in the library. I mean, but nowadays, people can, even though, yes, there are ways to, access search histories. If, our agents are unable to watch hundreds of millions of people and what they're looking at. I mean, I will look up stories because I'm in the media. I mean, I don't want somebody flagging me because I'm looking up, the Aurora, Colorado shooting at a theater, or I'm not idolizing that. I'm just looking at it to re-educate myself so I can talk about it on air. But was it James Holmes who was the one that did the Aurora, Colorado shooting for the night, the Batman movie? gosh, I forgot the name. It has the knight in it. I apologize that I forgot that Batman movie's name. But he had been drawing pictures and showing a psychologist on campus in Colorado about fantasies he had about killing people. If somebody is fantasizing that and they let you know, that's a pretty damn big red flag. But if somebody is hiding in a basement somewhere and just doing their thing, it's going to be difficult. And I don't know how to change your thinking. How do you have somebody who's only 20 years old that hated the school so much? And these high schools are at high risk because people hate their high school years. High school is miserable for people. Between the bullies and all that, I mean, it's probably one of our worst times in our life. I went to 4 schools, 12 schools altogether before high schools. It was not easy. I did enjoy one of the high schools I was at, but still, between the between the bullies and and everything that happened, it wasn't a good time. But I'm healthy, mentally healthy, so I leave high school. And I go about my merry way. I don't decide to try and take revenge on the high school. But people who feel wronged are going to go after them. And teachers and principals are in a really tight spot because their job, one thing people are faulting our current teachers and faculty for is they're not, holding kids responsible for stuff and making sure they, learn the material, etc. But nowadays, if you talk cross to a student, you're at risk for them coming back and killing you. We got to do a better job of finding these students first. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles, along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Dahlia. As many of you know, I lost another colleague to suicide. And tragically, tens of thousands of Americans, including hundreds of physicians, take their lives each year. Why is suicide so common? Why doctors? Even medical students have alarming suicide rates. Nurse burnout is at an all-time high. Maybe it's the monstrous workloads we face every day. Maybe it's because of burnout, malpractice suits, online reviews. Medicine has changed so rapidly that it's almost unrecognizable to those of us who entered this field and wanted to take it by storm. But there's not a lot of resources out there for healthcare providers who deny that they are struggling or at risk. So my book, The Depressed Doctor, aims to change that for both the physician and medical student and anyone else who is struggling. Find The Depressed Doctor on Amazon or at drdahlia.com. And if you are currently struggling, call or text 988, the National Suicide Prevention and Crisis Hotline. Don't wait. The silence is killing us. We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877 DOCDALI. So I'm a little confused by this whole Eric Swalwell thing. I haven't really been following the politics and who's been, involved with who and who had what relationships, etc. I know that, he's been in the news and a big, shall we say, critic of Trump. But wasn't there something that happened years ago with the Chinese national where somebody cozied up to him? And Axios reported this. I looked it up. This was back in 2020, where a suspected Chinese spy targeted California politicians. And you see pictures of Swalwell and this woman, a Chinese national named Fang Fang or Christine Fang, where she kind of cozied up to these local politicians. And one target was Representative Eric Swalwell, the Democrat from California. Apparently, she took part in fundraising activity for his 2014 re-election campaign, according to Bay Area political operative and current U.S. intelligence official. This was reported 6 years ago. Swalwell's office was made directly aware that she was suspicious, and from what we understand, they then cut ties with this person. But, you know, I don't know if, was he the representative that people were saying was possibly having a relationship with the Chinese spy? I don't remember. I haven't been following that. And so now that you're seeing these allegations, and not just Representative Eric Swalwell, but Tony Gonzalez, Republican from Texas, they both have resigned from Congress yesterday in lieu of facing expulsion following sexual misconduct allegations. It's better for you to resign than for it to be on your record that you were expelled. But, you know, with Swalwell now with these accusations that have surfaced, now it starts to beg the question, if he did have relationships with staffers and other people, and we have these reports that there were Chinese spies, what's going on with our representatives? And what are other countries doing? We saw that China has infiltrated academia with sending in packages named women's underwear bioweapons like E. coli. What are they doing with our congresspeople? And so, you would think these people would be a little smarter. Just don't cheat on your wife. Just don't cheat. It's interesting. The Bible has a lot of rules, right? Can't commit adultery. Can't, it's really, really easy to avoid getting STDs. It's really easy to avoid adultery. That you can really follow a lot of the rules and protections therein if you just don't do stupid. And cheating on one's wife isn't enough to get somebody thrown out. But if somebody you cheated with is accusing you of assaulting them, one of his, now this is sexual assault. Now this is rape. Eric Swalwell is being accused of rape. Somebody had said that it happened multiple times, and she doesn't remember the instances, but she woke up feeling like it had happened. And, I don't know if she went to the hospital, got a rape kit. I don't know how this happened 3 times. What was the situation? And maybe she put them all together going, I bet this happened 3 times. I thought we were just partying and drinking, but I don't remember, did my drink get. So what we need to do is we need to do, if any of this, like an assault happens or you think you were drugged, we need to be able to talk screen you to see if there are any chemicals in your body that could have drugged you, like rohimbine and things like that. And then we want to do a rape kit to see but without that, we lose a lot of evidence. Now, I don't know how far these cases are going to go. Eric Swalwell has declined or denied the allegations. He says he has made some mistakes. He's spending time with his family. So this is suggesting that he had extramarital affairs. But if you have now accusers saying that he raped them, one said that he choked her, that he was choking her. Is it to kill her or was it part of the sex act? I don't know. I haven't really gotten into all those details. But what is not only so disturbing about that is if you, and I'm not saying once a cheater, always a cheater, but, if we have known, evidence of Chinese spies bringing in, gorgeous individuals to hit on our Congress people, what's happening to our national security? Now, somebody in Congress should be smart enough to, 1, not cheat on their wife, 2, not tell secrets or divulge classified information. But somehow I think these other countries think that they could get away with something because they think that many of our congressional leaders think what they're, you know what? And I understand that some people may fall out of love with who they're with. And I understand that some people may find somebody else attractive. It's not ideal. I would rather you end the marriage, let the other person go, not expose them to STDs, try to figure out how to raise the kids together and co-parent. But if you don't want to be with your spouse anymore and you're cheating on them, don't try and get your cake and eat it too, which unfortunately a lot of people do. They're like, well, I want to be with this person, but I want to be married to this person, which also is something a lot of people don't understand. Because I talk to a lot of patients who cheated and made that decision. You have some where they actually found their true love later in life, and they end up being with that person they ended up cheating with and being with them, forever. You have others, I'm not saying that's a good thing, but where rather it being lust, it was, this is the person I really was supposed to be with. I needed to be with this person, and I made a mistake. I should have, let my first, spouse know, and etc. But then you have others that, they just want to play. They're not having fun in the marriage, but they want to play. And they know that the people they're playing with are not going to be good parents, are not going to be good partners, are not going to be there through thick and thin. And you have these individuals that try to lead a double life. And then what's even more intriguing is you have some of the spouses that are cheated on okay with it. And they're like, look, I'd rather they still be a part of a family unit and still be a father to my kids, or a wife or a mom to my kids, and let them do whatever. I'm just not going to sleep with them and get an STD. I mean, I was blown away. I was so naive as to what relationships. And then you have the swingers. That really blew my mind. I'm discharging a patient up at the counter, giving them their prescription, saying goodbye to them, etc. And the couple was there. They were both there for physicals, and they go, by the way, if you and your husband ever want, do you swing? And I go, I'm a horrible dancer. I'm thinking like, what, swing dancing? They want us to all go swing dancing. And my receptionist goes, no, Dr. Wax, they're swingers. And I go, what's that? Well, they want to have sex with you and Dr. Corey. I'm like, oh no, what? No, please, thank you, but no, thank you. I mean, I was that naive. You would think I would have seen everything in medical school. I was never asked to be a part of a swinging, but that's another way these couples get their outlets. Where, well, what we'll do is we'll find somebody else. This way, we get to enhance and there's also a lot of individuals that make little cells where there's certain people where they will only sleep within that little pod. Not for me. Just, let me just be married, be monogamous, and keep it simple. But what has to be investigated next is not only the sexual allegations and the sexual harassment and rape allegations, but who was he with that hasn't spoken out, and were any of them spies? 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by Financial Fitness Show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.